Hello friends, my name is Nika and I work as a model. With over 10 years of experience in the industry, I've had my fair share of ups and downs, but never stability. You might be surprised by the title of my video, How could modeling ruin my appearance? After all, models are often seems as beautiful. Well, let me tell you, it's possible, especially if you are a bit naive. Before I dive in, let me reveal a secret to you. If you see a model with a short hair, there is a 90% chance that she had an unfortunate encounter during a hair dyeing shoot. The remaining 10% are models who decided to go for it themselves. Honestly, I admire their courage. I consider myself a part of the first category, of course. I started my modeling career as a girl with a long, flowing, russet-colored hair. Nature had given me a thick mane that would beautifully lighten under the sun's touch. I loved my hair dearly and took great care of it. I shed tears like a crocodile if a hairdresser trimmed off more than 3 centimeters. I wouldn't have believed anyone who told me that at 23 I lose this precious asset, and at some point I even shaved it all off. It all began with a wild idea to dye my hair as a blonde. I knew that white color would suit me, so I pondered on the thought for a while. I was never one to make a quick decision, I simply waited. Eventually, I was invited to a photo shoot for a hair cosmetics brand where the most famous blonde meister in my country would be coloring me. After thoroughly researching her social media, analyzing the hair dye compositions, reading reviews and other things that seems crucial to me, I agreed. It was amazing, long, snowy, white hair of excellent quality. I felt like Narcissus admiring his reflection in the lake. I received more modeling work. People on the street complimented my hair color, but the magic of beauty couldn't last forever, just like an ancient Greek myth. After months, centimeters of my natural roots began to show on my snowy white head, and that's when I realized the plight of all blondies, constant root touch-ups. And not only is it time-consuming, but is also financially draining. Exactly a month later, I was offered another photo shoot for hair dye brand. They promised to touch up my roots and add some soft pink pastel strands. Prior to this, I rarely agreed to shoots involve even tone-on-tone dyeing, but my caution left me and I agreed without hesitation. In one of my previous videos, I mentioned a special category of models who exclusively work on shoots and shows where their hair is colored and styled. There is a lot of work in this category, but the pay is low. These models are regular folks who are up for all sorts of hair experiments, but they don't have the classic model look. When a modeling agency offers the same casting with a high fee, these models used to such transformations being replaced by the classic models. But to my misfortune, I ended up replacing one of them. In total, there were 10 boys and girls. We were all informed that the dye would wash out soon, leaving us with our usual blonde. We weren't expecting a catch. I'm almost certain they didn't intend to harm us. As you might have guessed, things didn't go as planned. At some point, I noticed that I couldn't see the pastel strands on my colleague's hair, nor on my own. Instead, I saw some vivid accent-like hues. The models looked as thought they would escaped from a toy store. Luckily, my color was tolerable, unlike some of the others, who could be cast as witches, sea monsters, and other colorful entities. Perhaps now I wouldn't have been upset. I might have even enjoyed the uniqueness, but back then I was passionate with being blonde, and to my great disappointment, all that remained was a memory and a couple of photos. As it turned out later, it was a direct pigment, a new dye that hadn't been tasted before. Yes, they tasted it on live people. For those unfamiliar with hairdressing terms, let me explain. Direct pigment is a type of dye that's nearly impossible to wash out of hair. It's a dream for those who love bright colors, but not so much for everyone else. By the way, let me remind you who models are. They are individuals who earn their living through their appearance and specific type. Models must visually match the photos in their portfolios. Model agents' managers make them take new photos even if they've just trimmed their brand, let alone made such a drastic change in hair color. In the end, all 10 of us models were out of work for the foreseeable future. Dozens of shoots, contracts and trips were cancelled, and me, I was supposed to model for a dress shop. There they approved me as a blonde with a hint of light pink. Throughout the evening, I tried unsuccessfully to wash out my hair from this seemingly beautiful yet totally unfitting color. But all I managed to do was turn the bathroom into a scene from a gruesome murder. Red dye was everywhere. Before bed, I applied a mask made from the richest oils, covered my head with a bag, and fell asleep hoping that the situation would somehow resolve itself by morning. How naive! In the morning, I removed the bag, washed my hair, and saw a silver burgundy mess. I started dialing various numbers from the previous day's shoot and writing to all my hairstylist acquaintances. On the phone, I was informed that all the brand's representatives who could rectify the situation were on vacation. I was, to put it, in shock. It dawned on me through the ruined phone that I could go to the beauty salon and lighten my hair with a low-volume developer. I was already in distress. I had 4 hours left before the shoot, and my hair was still some indefinable color. Plus, I was flushed from all the stress. I rushed to the salon. They decolorized my hair and it turned out minty. Remarkably, even with that color, the photo shoot still happened. I felt incredibly guilty and literally looked like a swamp witch. I was extremely lucky with the client and photographer that day. I would have envied anyone's stress resistance in that situation. Somehow they found a solution, and in the end there was hardly any green in the photos. And after that I lost work for 2 months. It's worth mentioning that the person who suffered the most was the agent who hired the models. All 10 of us called her, cried, strengthened her. The boys accepted their fate. Some of the girls covered it up with dark dye, but many of us were blonde addicts and unsuccessfully trying to turn the blonde. Among them was me. For the next few months, I practically lived in beauty salons, trying to restore my former glory. Hairdressers shook their heads in frustration at this minty color was nearly indestructible. It didn't turn beige when mixed with red, contrary to the law of coloristry, and it remained just as vibrant regardless of the number of attempts to lighten it. And now I'll share something that would make hairstylists cringe. They even tried to steam the color out with a flat iron. It happened a bit, actually. To say that I was stressed at the time would be an understatement. I think by the point my hair was falling out partly from the stress. Still, credit to my hair, it's held up well. I believe that a natural blondie would have lost her hair halfway through that I endured. A month later, I managed to get a normal color, but life wasn't as sweet without this perfect blonde. I cried when I look at my old photos with the snowy white hair. I terminate my friends and husbands with my whining. Honestly, I'm slightly ashamed of this now. I made a mountain out of what seems like a molehill, but as they say, that's what women do. In the end, after some time, I mastered the courage and messaged the hairstylist who initially colored me and begged her to use any means necessary to restore me to my former self. The hairstylist was kind, and after touching the remnants of my hair, she said that the carriage would turn into a pumpkin, meaning my hair would fall out. But I was determined in my foolishness, thinking that something was in dead may never die. And miraculously, I got the exact color I had been longing for, but not for long. After a couple of weeks, a significant portion of my hair broke off about 3 centimeters from the roots. I cut my hair into a bob, but ideally I should have shaved it all off. There was so little hair left that I couldn't even tie it into a ponytail. And so I spent the entire summer with something awkward on my head. At some point, I gathered the courage and completely cut off those limp strands from my head. And that's when a real miracle happened. High quality and substantial projects poured in for me. My beloved man proposed to me in Paris, and life was thriving. It was a thought I had cleared a space for success in my life. Most importantly, I looked at myself in a new light. I literally unmasked myself to the world. Perhaps that's why women with a short haircut appear stronger and more daring. They are not afraid to be somewhat exposed to the public. Now I feel like I had been hiding my true self beneath my hair. Yes, the modeling profession did affect my appearance for a certain period of time, but I made those impulsive decisions independently, without anyone's influence. I lost my patience and ability to accept the situation. I tried to take action, wanting to regain what I had to let go of without regret. I feared change and blamed everyone for my own failures. The moment I took a risk, life turned back in my favor. It granted me even more valuable opportunities. Later on, I'll change my look again. I have a rather capricious nature. I let it grow, dye it, and cut them off again. With these words, I'm not encouraging women to cut their hair. I'm encouraging them not to fear change, to be decisive and fearless. Why try to save something that no longer holds value? And this doesn't just only to hair. Don't forget to like my videos, leave cool comments, and of course, subscribe.